Got it. All right. Welcome, everyone. First of all, we're going to dedicate this shir. But we're going to dedicate this shir to my cousin, GITTY MUNITZ. It's her 70th birthday approaching. And we want to wish her much nachat and good health, long life, and wealth in every meaning of the word. I want to say that dedicating the shir doesn't depend on a contribution. Anybody who participates and would like to dedicate it to somebody, as we said before, the idea of people studying Torah in the merit of somebody who has a special occasion coming, like a bride and a groom, or a yurt site where somebody passed away and we want to do something in their name. That's a big merit for the soul, and we're happy if the week is available to dedicate it to whomever anybody would wish. It's an open mic. Okay, just please tell Reba Rifkin in advance, and then we can do it. Okay, we're going to. I made a mistake, my friends. I made a mistake. I should have said that we're going to spend the entire time here talking about Purim, because it's unbelievable, Purim, right? Unbelievable. But we're not, because when I began to prepare, I realized how little I know, and I'm going to just. There are some people who study the Megillah the entire year just to be able to fulfill the commitment mitzvahs of Purim. Is that we're going to say a few things about Purim? Okay, first of all, we're going to say the obvious thing. If I don't think I mentioned it till now, isn't it funny that Yom Kippur and Purim sound the same, right? In fact, if you look at the translation, Purim means lots, because that was the miracle of one of the miracles, undercover miracles of Purim, that Haman in his enthusiasm, no, I was going to say madness to curse the Jewish people. He felt that he wanted to have God like Bilam. He wanted to pick to choose that moment when the Jewish people were not in God's favor, and so he threw a lottery, right? And it came out, I think we even said it last week, came out in the month of Adar, and he was happy because Adar is the month that Moses passed away, and he didn't know that it's also the day, the seventh day of Adar, when Moses was born. Okay, and so God tricked him into all of these efforts. Another amazing. So we're talking about Purim and Yom Kippur. It's the same. The word from Yom Kippur comes from the word kapara, atonement, the day of atonement. A person who places himself with the Jewish people, he fasts and keeps Shabbos on that day, right? God atones for his sins, even if he didn't do tshuva on each thing. He comes to an incredibly higher level, as we speak about every year on what's the connection with Purim. Purim means lots. Kapara means atonement, and the answer is that the Zohar says that a person can accomplish exactly even more, because it says Yom Kippur, like Purim. A person can accomplish more on Purim than he can on Yom Kippur through fasting. He can do it by joy and happiness. Okay, so that's the first thing, is something we have to plan for it in advance. Where are we going to be? Who are we going to be with? What are we going to be doing? What are we going to be eating? What are we going to be drinking? What Torah are we going to be thinking about? Where are we going to be davening? As much as possible, because how much a person can be happy on the day of Purim, the 14th and 15th, the 14th of Adar, this Wednesday night and Thursday, and in Jerusalem on the night of the 15th, which is Thursday night and Friday. He draws down happiness for the entire year. We're going to tell one story from the Ba'al Shem Tov, and the story is told to us, and I think I've said it before, that when we hear a story that's said by a tzaddik, when a tzaddik tells a story, that means not only is the message accurate, it means the actual story itself is accurate. It's not just a bubble might, it's something that really happened. And the story was that there was once a person, and he saved up The story just says for many years, but you can imagine, saved up penny by penny until he had an enormous amount of money, 500 golden rubles. And he took those 500 golden rubles and he set off to do a sin that he had planned to do for all of those years. He had saved the money to do that sin. And it doesn't say what that sin is. And you know what? Our Chazal, Chachmenu Zechariah, they wanted to leave it to your imagination. He went off to do a sin. Okay. And on the way, he hears people screaming. Right? Why were they? These were a family that couldn't pay their rent. And the Polish noblemen, what did they do? They dig a hole, right? That's the person can't reach out of, right? And they put and they throw the people into the hole, and they put a grate on top of the hole, and the people are there to starve if nobody feeds them. They're there to be at the mercy of the weather. It's just it's unimaginable. Okay, he sees people screaming, an entire family screaming, and he asks how much money it would take to redeem them, because he has an enormous amount of money, and it was exactly the amount of money that he had amassed, and he gave the money to the Poritz, to the Polish nobleman, to redeem the family. Now, the story doesn't say anything about what the thoughts of the person were, of the man. But it does say that there was such a clamor in heaven that he had been on his way to do a mitzvah, and he went and saved the people's lives. They said that this person was going to become so holy that whatever he blessed, whatever blessing he gave, was going to happen. Okay, but then that was from the defenders, but then how do you call it? The prosecutors, they said, how can you do that? This person is an evil person. He wasn't a mitzvah person, and he was on his way to do a terrible, terrible sin. How can you do that? So they made it a compromise, that they would decree that he would be a drunkard. He would be a drunkard, okay, and so that he would never be able to bless anything. He would be, the blessings were, he would be in a certain sense powerless to give the blessings. Now, somehow the Ba'al Shem Tov knew of this Jew who was a Jewish person, and there was some terrible, terrible calamity, a negative decree against the Jewish people, and there was nothing. They couldn't find any solution, and so the Ba'al Shem Tov sent a mishlachat, a small group of his most special Chassidim, to this man to beg him to bless. But every time they came to him, he was drunk. He was flat out. Nothing to happen. Okay, right? But they coming back and back and back. I heard that they did a whole trick with him. They offered him a liquor, and they didn't give it to him, and he fell asleep, and he woke up, and they caught him once when he woke up, and he was sober. And they asked him, they begged him to give a blessing that the Jewish people should be saved, and he gave the blessing, and the calamity was averted. Okay, now the Chiddushei Arim, why did he reveal this story? This is a story that's wasn't revealed in any. It's not in this Sipurei Abesh. It's not in the stories of the best. It's not in any of the sources. Why did he reveal it? He said, right, because Purim is a day when it's such an Eis Ratzon, and what was the big Eis Ratzon? It's such a day of goodwill. It's a day when God is so with the Jewish people, because we said so many times before, time is a spiral. It's not a line. And what happened on Purim? Purim was the day that all of the Jewish people in the entire world, not one person was prepared to give up their faith, to announce publicly that they're no longer Jewish, and to save their lives. Each Jewish person was Moiseh Nafsho. He was prepared to give his life just for being a Jewish person, okay, which was something that's never happened in the history of the Jewish people. Okay, and so it's a day when each day again God smiles on the Jewish people. So the Chiddushei Arim again was the was the second Gera Rebbe. So he said, like, Purim is such a powerful day. Like, each of us is like that person who whatever we bless will come true. It's a shame to spend the whole day in drunken happiness. Okay, so there's that dichotomy. Okay, there's a dichotomy. On the one hand, it's the happiest day of the year. There's even permission to get drunk. It says, "Chayav ish lebasumi ad lo yoda ben the tzaddik Mordechai and the Rosh Harmon." Ad kedei kach. It says Chayav ish lebasumi right there. Okay, there's different opinions what it means, but nobody's going to say a person can't go all out. On the other hand, leave some time. Leave some time for meditation. Leave some time for contemplation. Leave some time for studying Torah. Okay, and don't miss the potential of Purim. Now, in terms of books, I want to say anybody that wants a few, you know what? There's the Torah anthology, unbelievable, Me'am Lo'ez, on Purim. It's a 1-volume book, but it reads like a novel. You can start it. The I forget what it's called, but you can buy it in any Jewish bookstore. So the Malbim on Megillas Esther, also unbelievable. You know, truth is, I have some very nice things, both in English and in Hebrew. If anybody wants them, you know, Mrs. Dominitz, maybe we'll put some things we'll put some files on the site, on the WhatsApp group for anybody who wants to download them. Okay, that we have a few things about happiness and about the different Torah ideas about the Purim. Okay, but okay, any questions though? Anything else? Oh, I was going to say one vort. It says that the Achashverosh made a big party, right? Okay, and he invited all the people, right? And he said, and there was delicacies and goodies and whatever. Ish v'ish, the will of man and man. And the simple explanation is ish means everybody. It's what everybody would want. Anybody would want, there it was. But the Medrash says, what's ish v'ish? At that time, the two most powerful ministers were Mordechai and Haman. Ish v'ish. Mordechai is called Ish, and Haman is called Ish. That's unbelievable. Because there are 4 levels of people. There's Ish, there's an Adam, and the lowest level is third level is Gever, and then there's Enosh. 4 different levels of people. And Ish is the highest level. How do we know? Because Moses was called Ish. How can the Megillah call Haman Ish? No answer. But the answer is, it actually doesn't call him Ish. It calls him Ve'ish. Now, Ve'ish, if you rearrange the letters, it can spell Yeush. Yeush is despair. Okay, and that is what Haman tried to create in the Jewish people. He tried to create despair. Okay, and that's the thing that Purim, a person who celebrates Purim, and he's happy just because God made me a Jewish people. And there's a certain happiness you're supposed to have when you do a mitzvah. I think we sent it out as in one of my ideas in the last few weeks. There's sometimes God gave me a mitzvah, I'm happy, but there's a certain happiness after you do the mitzvah. There's a certain happiness that's with a Jewish person all the time, just that I'm a Jewish person. And that's a thrilling feeling. Okay, that feeling that we have on Purim, and we have it the whole year, that's the best protection that a person has against yesh, against despair. Despair is to be avoided at all costs. Okay, that's it. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to say. No. Okay, look inside. Here we are. These are 2. One time, it's late. Nobody's leaving till we finish. Even though we're going to finish at 10 o'clock, no one is leaving till we finish these 2 ideas. We're going to do 118, 119. Here we go. May Ba'al Shem Tov. Right, from the holy Ba'al Shem Tov, everybody look inside, right? Right. Okay. It says Sheish Shonim Tizra Sadecha v'Yom. The pasuk continues v'Yom Shvi Shabbos Tishbeis. For 6 years you should plant your fields, and in the 7th year is a Shabbos Shabbaton, is a day, is a year of rest for the fields. Okay. So the truth is he doesn't really explain what the 7 are, how the 7 are spiritually. Anytime you see 7, again, we have the 3 intellectual attributes: wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, and then you have the 6 emotional attributes: chesed, gevurah, tiferes, kindness, judgment, beauty, netzach, hod yesod. Netzach is lenatseach, victory, and hod is glory, and yesod is foundation. So those are 6 primary emotions and secondary emotions, and then you have malchus, action. Okay, so anytime you see 7, it's going on the midos and emotions and action. Okay, but he's not talking here about 7, and the commentaries don't really explain what he's talking about. But he does divide the 7 into 3. So what's 3? 3 is right, left, and center. In other words, the 7 midot, the way that it works, there are 3 triangles. It's chesed is on the right, kindness on the right, gevurah is on the left, and tiferet, beauty, compassion, and empathy is in the middle. Again, netzach is on the right, hod is on the left, and yesod is in the middle. 2 triangles. So there's a right side, a left side, and a middle. Okay, so what's right side and left side and middle? So the primary, so he's explaining that this is what it does say, that when a person sees 3, he's supposed to see right, left, and middle. So in general, the Torah says that the middle way is the best way. But sometimes if a person has extreme aspects in themselves, like a person is pulled either towards the left. Towards the left is the positive side is strength, gevurah. But the negative side could be anger and idol worship. The height of the left side is the ultimate of a person's will, spiritual strength, something that will not let him let go of the right thing no matter what. That's the left. So sometimes a person can pull to the left, and he might have a very strong will, but it also might bring him to a place of anger. Okay, what about the right? On the right side, that's the primary is kindness, chesed. And the ultimate of kindness, somebody who's always giving, right? They're happy all the time. It's oneg, pleasure. But there's a low side of the right side. The low side could be pleasure for the wrong things. Could be zunus, which is immorality. Okay, so sometimes a person pulls to the left, and sometimes a person pulls to the right. How do you get back to the middle? So the Rambam says you have to, if you see you leaning to the right, you have to push to the left. And if you see you leaning to the left, you have to push to the right. And when you push yourself into that opposite extreme, that ultimately will bring you back to the middle. Okay. So let's take that context. Was that clear? I hope that was clear. Okay. Right, left, and center. Okay. That's the human struggle. Okay. How to get to the middle path, right? We have to perceive ourselves. Right? What part of us is dominant? What part are we? What part is the easy part of it? What's the natural way for us to perceive? Right? Does it fall into a negative? Abraham was the ultimate of kindness. He didn't need to pull to the left. Isaac was the ultimate of gvurah. He didn't need to pull to the right. Okay, but sometimes we have imbalances. Okay, so to get back to the center, you have to pull the opposite way that you go. Okay, so let's look at it in the context that we're going to study now. Okay, so he says, just 1 second. Like, again, I'm not kidding. Nobody's leaving till we finish. It says, okay, Aleph. What we're talking about, what happens is there are 3 different types of people. There's a person who first is not going in the right way, right? The Eno Margish, and he doesn't feel it. So what does the Ba'al Shem Tov say about that? Zeu benukva t'tahaim rabo. I don't even know how I translated the words. It says that when a person falls into negative behaviors, he falls into the tahom. Tahom means abyss. Abyss. Okay. Again, abyss is different things for different people. Okay. But I know about myself. Sometimes I'm so connected to the madness that's going on around me, right? That I fall into an abyss. An abyss means that sometimes even the important things that I need to do don't get done. Right? And when I see that happening, I realize that I'm sinking and I have to pull myself back. Okay, that's one level of an abyss. Everybody has their level. Now, but it just doesn't say abyss here. It says Tahaim Arabah, the great abyss. So that's a certain sense where a person it really lost it. They're in free fall. Okay, where they become oblivious to the important things around them. And now the Ba'al Shem Tov says here, he says not only about a person who's doing wrong and he doesn't even know that, he doesn't feel it. He says it's benukva the dahaim rabba. It's the abyss, it's the great abyss, it's the deepest part of the great abyss. It's three words of tragedy. Okay, that a person who's doing wrong and doesn't know he's doing wrong. Okay, so that's the far left. Okay, and then you have the bays, right? Mishiyadea ba'atzmai. Well, one second. Okay, the truth is I get this. Somebody sent me once this. Somebody sent me something called Likuti Sipurim Niflaim. It's collections and stories, wondrous stories. And sometimes there's something that is so special. So somebody sent to me, and there was an idea from a rabbi that's still alive now. His name is Shmuel David Klein Friedman. He lives in Yerushalayim, and he is a teacher, right? And he, in Tafshin Samet Test, which is about 13, 14 years ago, he gives a shir every week. And he himself lives in Bnei Brak. And he gave a shir of something he saw in Yerushalayim, that he walked by a certain storefront. And the storefront was locked up, and there was a sign in the storefront. And the sign said that the children of the person who owned the store are begging all of the people who bought in the store to forgive their father. Why? Because after he passed away, he came to more than one of the children from wherever he was, and he said that he has not a minute of menucha, not a second of comfort in the world to come, because he used the fact that he was an observant Jew to take advantage of people over a long period of time in his store, and now he's in the world to come. He's in Gehenna, and he's suffering terribly. And he called out to his children to help him, and they didn't know what to do, and so they put a sign on the store that anybody that had purchased anything from their father, that if there was any, even if they didn't know it, if there was a small possibility that he had taken advantage of them, they should please forgive them with all of their heart. And this story just happened. Okay, that's on one side, and the story on the so the point is, this is the person can live a whole life, or can live a part of his life, and not realizes, and he's doing terrible things, and he hasn't the strength to change himself. Right? And here's a story that a real story, a true story, that a person got to the world to come, and all the regrets in the world didn't help. What they say a joke, they say about, maybe I said it last week. No, what's the joke? The joke is that Mr. Goldstein is the president of the shul. Did I say it last week? He gets to the gates, to the pearly gates, and then they're boarded up. It's a big door there. So he knocks on the door and says, "Hello, I'm Mr. Goldberg. I'm the president of the shul. Let me in." So they open up the people. They say, "All right, 1 second." They look on the list. You're not on the list. And so they close it, right? Hey, wait a minute. Knock on I'm Mr. Goldberg. I'm the president of the shul. Let me in. I must be on the list. They open this, they check again. He's not on the list. He says, "Oh, now I understand. Right. I know what you guys want." And he picks out a wad of $100 bills from his pocket and he starts peeling. "How much do you want? How much do you want so I can get in?" And so what do they say? Is everybody sleeping? Anybody there? What did they say? "Mr. Goldberg, here we don't take checks or cash. We only take receipts." That's a joke. Liba.
Cute.
Yeah, thank you very much. Look, to get a rise out of you guys, it's impossible. So, okay, so that first level, again, the words are just so scary. It's the nukve of Tahayim Rabba, a person who doesn't know, he doesn't care. He doesn't feel it. Okay, all right, that's okay. What's the second level? He says, somebody who himself it realizes what's going on, right? That he's not behaving in the proper way. Excuse me. Okay, and nevertheless he doesn't change. He knows it. He knows he's not doing the right thing, and he doesn't change. Okay. So that's the ein aroch, a better level. Why? Because knowing the illness is half the cure. Knowing the problem is half the cure. Right? At least he has a chance, right, to transform himself. Okay, etc. And what's the third level? What's the gimel? A person who doesn't know he's going in a negative way. And he prays to the Almighty, right? So God should help him. When he does that, look at the words. I don't know what I wrote in English. He's making a yichud. What's a yichud? A yichud means a union. It means he's taking the lowest level of the physical world, right? Negative behavior, and he's connecting it, right, to the highest level, to a pure belief in Hashem, asking Hashem to help him to get out of the pit. It's inferred there that he's making an effort to transform himself, right? And that the negative actions, they themselves become the platform for him to go to a higher, to a pure spiritual level. That all of his negative deeds can be transformed. It says the word are zidainos, na says the chuyos. The negative deeds can be transformed into merits. Literally, the worst, I don't even want to say it. Everybody thinks for themselves something that's mamish against Torah HaKadoshah, against the Torah, something that's against, whether bein Adam lechavero, between a person and person, between Adam lamokom, between person and God, a person, not us, but somebody committed the worst possible things. And they are transformed into merits, right? Because he realized that he was going in the wrong way and he tried to rise out of it. Okay. That's the first one. And one second.
Could you just go over the 4 levels? Because I was only seeing
three levels. We talked in the beginning, we're talking about right, left, and center. Okay, that's it, right, left, and center. And I discussed the right, left, and center also. I don't want to do that again, but for for anything, he said that the first level, right, is the person who's the nukva tahayim rabba. Person is the deepest pit. He's acting, behaving inappropriately, and he doesn't realize he's behaving. That person, who is that person? Who is that person in our life? Is there anybody that doesn't need to have somebody objectively tell them to look at them, somebody who should look at us objectively and say where we need to improve. There's nobody. Everybody has issues, right? What is it? What does Dennis Prager say? The only people he knows whose lives are perfect are the people he doesn't know well. Everybody has problems. Everybody has issues. And a person who doesn't think he has any issues, that person is fooling themselves. Okay, and that's why but Torah in general and Chassidus in particular demands that a person have a mashpia, somebody that can that even in the smallest question you can go and to ask somebody who it's possible to speak to openly and who will help you to clarify, right? But it starts with a person thinking, if a person thinks that they're perfect and that they have nothing to work on, that itself is a problem, because that's God gives a person, please God, 60. We hope my 69th birthday is Friday. 70, please God. 80, sometimes 90, 100 years, even more, 120 years. Why? Because we need that much time to fix ourselves, to repair all of the things that we need to repair. Okay, don't freak out. The person shouldn't freak out that he has things to repair, but he has to know there's nobody that doesn't have things to repair. So that's the tragedy of the person. That's why he's in such a deep hole, because he doesn't realize. And a person actually thinks that way, or we know somebody thinks that way, beg them, right? Get a spiritual advisor. Try to start working on things. That's the first level. The second level is a person who knows that that they have that they're not acting in the right way. What time is it? It's late. They're not acting in the right way, but they know about it, but they don't do anything about it. They're too lazy to change. Wait, I know about that also. Wait, where did I see it? I saw it. I wrote it in my own in my own Devar Torah about Napoleon. I don't know if you all read my Devar Torah. It says Napoleon, right? Right. Well, we're not going to tell it now. We'll tell it later. All right. Person who doesn't want to change. 1 second.
It was really good Devar Torah.
Oh, who said that? Thank you very much, Liba. Okay. No, that thing about Napoleon was Geschmack. Okay. All right. The second thing is the person who doesn't want to change. All right. And what's the third level? Right. The third level is that he wants to change, and he prays to Hashem to help him. And that I just saw now just a story. One of the most famous student-teacher relationships in all of the Torah is the relationship between the great Kabbalist at Tzfat, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, and his protege Chaim Vital. And in fact, the Ari writes, or actually he was quoted as saying, that because of Chaim Vital's false humility, he's holding back Mashiach from coming. Because Chaim Vital, when the Ari, Rabbi Luria, not only told him that he's came into the world to help him complete himself so he could take the teachings of the Ari and bring them out to the world. He even did certain things to help him to come to a spiritual completion. There's a famous story that he took him to a certain place in the Kinneret where the well of Miriam is hidden in the middle of the Kinneret. And he took him to the place where the well of Miriam is, and some says he immersed in it, some says he tipped in a cup and he drank from it, right? And that was supposed to have completely opened up his intellect in a level that it brought him to an incredibly higher level, okay? But Chaim Vital didn't believe him. Chaim Vital insisted that they have nine other students. There should be 10 students altogether. It's a special power of 10, as we spoke about many times, okay? So one time, all the time, the Ari, anybody who's a parent, I have 6 daughters and 5 sons, and sons are so much more difficult, I think, than parents. And I remember so many times trying to praise my son, to tell my sons how good they are. And so I think about the Ari praising Chaim Vital, trying to build up his confidence, to give him the ability to take the teachings that he was teaching him and to spread it out to the world. And once it says that Chaim Vital just got aggravated. Why are you saying these things about me? it's so obviously, it's so transparently not true. That there were people in the earlier generations that even the simplest person in the earlier generations, it was more righteous than I am. Why do you keep saying these things that are apparently not true? And the Rizal said to him, "Don't you're not getting it. You're misunderstanding." Okay, he says it's not about what a person, the overt actions of what a person does, right? It's because 1,000 years ago, there weren't anywhere close to the same amount of klipot, the sitra achra, husks that hide on the holiness, the negative side. Okay, it was so much easier to be a spiritually adept person. Now there is so much, and that was talking about 500 years ago. Now there's so much negative energy, right? That any person who's able to even, I don't want to misquote it. Any person, where is it? That's able to have a glimmer of spiritual power in the negative malaise, right? Each person in this class, no question about it. I appointed everybody, it's months already. I appointed each of you secret agents that can go to places where I can't go. The teachings that we study here together, you're supposed to take them and transmit them into your friends and family, to where you work, school, wherever you're doing, to take these ideas. Because, okay, a person, the Rizal said to Chaim Vital, a person can't judge themselves by how much they're screaming when they say Hallel, by how much their toes are tingling when they say Kiddush, by how much the whole day goes by and they don't have a negative thought. That's an incorrect way to look at it, right? He says because we are facing so much more negative things. It could be that a very, very high person who's very potent spiritually. Let me just 1 second. He says like here, it says, that God is the one who checks a person's heart. It's each person is according to that time and that generation. Even a small action, even a minute action in this generation. He's talking 500 years ago. Before a double, triple scoop banana split time. Before, right? Talking about 5 years ago, right? Where even a small action bedor hazeh, and I'm saying in this generation, kama mitzvahs bedor rishonim is weighed against some of the most powerful commandments in the previous generations. Because in those generations, because in this generation, the klipos, the negative energies, the distractions, the challenges that we have, right, are incomparably greater than were in the previous generations. Haklipos v'hara goveres ma'od, they're overpowering. They dwarf us with their intimidating us with their power. Ad ein case limitlessly. Masha ein came b'doros rishon. It wasn't true in the first generations. Okay, so that person. Okay, welcome back. Okay, so we're saying the three people: the person who doesn't know he's misbehaving. What a tragedy! He is in the deepest part of the Dahaima Rabbah, of the abyss of the okay. Then there's the person that knows he's misbehaving, he does not acting in the right way, and he doesn't do anything about it. Okay, he's too lazy. Okay, and okay, but at least he knows. Okay, right. And the third level is the person that he's not 100%, far from it, but he prays to God that God should help him to get out of it. So we're saying that the holy Ari said to Chaim Vital, you can't judge by if a person's whole day is filled with mitzvahs, whole day is studying Torah, if they have the right thing to say at the right moment each time, if their day is perfect. That's not the way to look at it. Because why? Because each person is faced by terrible, and it could be that even just one thought that we have, right? Hashem should help us out of this stupid situation is worth a lifetime of mitzvahs by somebody in the previous generation. That's okay. Okay, that's that. 1 second. Okay, that's that. That's the first one. Kufiyat Ches. Anybody have any questions? I got carried away though. I apologize. That was just important to say. Come on, we have 15 minutes. We're going to keep going. No, Darren, no more questions. Ken, are you sleeping? Right. Chaya Liora, you never disappoint me, Chaya. Okay?
I'm not sleeping. Sorry.
It's okay. All right. Beseder. Let's go. Kufiyat Ches. Kufiyat Ches. I got very excited when I was learning this. Okay. It's a beautiful. 119. Ba'al Shem Tov. Inyan and Nes. What's the idea of a miracle? Right? It's when something new happens. So he's not talking about, he's not talking about what would be a miracle? The thing is that we don't, the power of science, they think they can explain everything. So, everything became, that's what he says. He says, but what's the idea of a miracle? The first time it happened, unbelievable, it's a miracle. Right, but Rishon ala teva nikrenes. The first time that happened, something higher than nature was a miracle. And afterwards, it became people understood it. It became it became part of the natural order. There was a person might say the body is a miracle, right? And all of a sudden, because they can identify this hormone or that catalyst, or they can make a robot that can walk, and all of a sudden they think that they understand everything about the human body. It stopped becoming a miracle. Well, between you and I, the body is a miracle. I mean, in the what do they say? In the eye itself, there are 90 million moving parts or something like that. Whatever. But that's the tragedy of the world that we live in, right? Where they want to take the miracles and they turn it into something that's part of nature. Okay, but that's really not what he wanted to speak here. Really, he's speaking about things in our own lives. Okay, that when a person has a challenge, right? And they go beyond what they thought their limits were. They broke through. They didn't, it's something like akin to that with races. How is it that today they can run now a mile in X amount of seconds, and 10 years ago or 20 years ago it took twice as many or a third more? Why is it? Is it just that people are becoming? There's more people from Ethiopia or wherever that can run faster. There's amazing people from Africa that can run very fast. So Torah says no. Torah says that every time a person breaks through a certain limit on a personal level, then he opens up the conduit. And that already became part of the norm, and that all of a sudden it's possible to break through farther. Every time we push past our own limitations, Right, now that Liba, now the story from the Dvar Torah is the story about it says Napoleon. Napoleon was lying in bed, and it was the middle of the winter, and he was in the middle of the camp, and he had 10 blankets on him, right? And he gets so thirsty, and he says, "But I don't want to get out of bed; it's cold." And then he says, "If you're Napoleon and you're too weak to get out of bed to get a drink, what makes you different than anybody else?" So he jumps out of bed, right? Throws away his blankets. He walks across the whole camp, right? He gets to the water tank, and then he says, "What? If you're such a weakling that you had to get out of bed to take a drink, what makes you different than anybody else?" And he went back to his bed without drinking anything. Okay. When a person breaks through their own, we learn about how to transform ourselves from a not Jewish person. When a person breaks through their own limitations, they open up that same conduit for other people. They make it possible for other people to reach that same level and to break through their own limitations. Okay, and that's what he's talking about, that when a nace, somebody behaves in a way beyond their nature, okay, then that becomes something natural, and he opens up the conduit for other people to reach there. And so this is what it says. This is so beautiful. Okay, it's 2 verses in the 81st Psalm. It's the 4th and 5th verse in the 81st Psalm, and I suggest everybody look at it afterwards. If you okay, the first verse it says Tiku bechodesh shofar. Tiku, that you should blow. Tiku means blow. Bechodesh. What's chodesh? Chodesh means the month of Tishrei, the month of the high holidays. Shofar. You should blow bechodesh in the month. Rosh Hashanah meaning the shofar. What's wrong with that sentence? No, what's wrong with it? Why you should blow? What would it like in English? You should drive to Monticello in your car. Drive. It's weird. What should you say? Drive your car to Monticello. What is this? You drive to Monticello in your car. What is it? You should blow in the month the shofar, because it's trying to tell us something. The verse, King David is trying to tell us something that don't read it about it. It's something about the shofar. It says, read it like this. It's a hiksha. Look inside. And everybody asked the hiksha, the heavy le'lemeimar. It should have really said the heavy. It should be le'meimar. It should be said tiku shofar b'chodesh. It should say really to blow the shofar b'chodesh. Chodesh meaning the month, the first month, the month of Tishrei. Okay, the first month of the year. Okay, uperush. What did it say? Ki yira adam tadish yeh b'chodesh. That a person has to always make sure that whatever he does, there's a chiddush. He's doing it in a fresh way. He's doing it in a way like he never did it before. Okay, I was reading in a certain collection of books about joy, and there was a yid. He lived in Lubavitch, actually, in the town of Lubavitch, which is where Chabad originated, but it was from the time of the Ba'al Shem Tov. So you're talking about Lubavitch was a town even 150 years before before Chabad started, and there was a person there, and his name was Yisrael the Lebedika. Yisrael, the person who was heartful, right? And why? Because he was 90 years old, and he used to do every mitzvah with incredible enthusiasm and joy. And what would he say? He said at a commandment done without proper intention is like a body without a soul. What's a body without a soul? Dead. It's dead. Okay. And so therefore, I have to infuse every action that I'm doing with positive intentions. And if I, Yisrael, right, we're even though I'm not a very righteous person or a very knowledgeable person, if I was given the privilege of serving Hashem through doing these mitzvahs, I have to do each one with incredible power. So that's what the Ba'al Shem Tov is saying. Look inside the English, in the Hebrew. A person must see himself, must push himself always, everything that we do has to add something from it. If we're davening, we just read the words are dead. Okay, I'm not, nobody here appointed me your mashpia, right? But every day try to take some, if you have no time and you have your order that you want to do and you don't want to give up on it, I understand exactly. Take one line, 3 lines, 1 kapitel, right? And say it like you mean it. Say it like you're talking to God. Look for a relationship there that you haven't seen before. Bring it out. Rod Saloma, look inside. Loma lechadesh ma'asim tovim, to always to innovate, right? To take the simple actions, to do it in a spiritually potent way. It shouldn't be like a fixed rule. Do fixed rule, right? Because like we said, a mitzvah without intention is like a body without a soul. Mitzvah b'li kavana kamo guf. It actually in Hebrew it rhymes. Mitzvah b'li kavana kamo guf b'li neshama. Okay. And so that, and now, what's the next verse? What's the next verse in the Tehillim, the 81st Psalm? It says, Ki chok Yisrael hu mishpat Yaakov. Again, how do the words go? It starts off with Tiku b'chodesh shofar, b'chesed liyom chagenu. Blow in the month the shofar, b'chesed liyom chagenu. B'chesed means none of the other holidays are at the beginning of the month. Most of the holidays are on the 15th of the month. The 15th of the month is when the moon is full. In the very beginning of the month, the moon is hidden. So what the verse says is Tika b'chodesh shofar, blow in the month of shofar, b'chesed, when b'yom chagenu, when our holiday is b'chesed, is covered. The moon is you can't see the moon. And then the verse continues, Ki chok Yisrael hu, because it's a law for the Jewish people, who mishpat Yaakov. And this is what we take on ourselves. A law is a mishpat, is something that came from God. It's a judgment that came from God. That Rosh Hashanah is the day of judgment for the Jewish people. Those are the 2 verses. Okay, Tiku b'chodesh shofar chesed yom chagenu ki chok Yisrael hu mishpat Yaakov. Now the Ba'al Shem Tov reads it this way. I hope you're following me. I hope it's clear in the English also. He says, how do you read it? Tiku b'chodesh shofar, that when you take a mitzvah, you take the shofar blowing and you do it in a fresh way. And by the way, blowing the shofar is very hard to do in a fresh way. The sounds are the same. It really is all about what you think about it. It's all about how you feel the importance of it. It's all about the energy that you put into it. Your person's lips touching the shofar, your hand holding onto the shofar, right? Your thoughts that you have. Because the sound of the shofar, you can't so much hear the person's intentions, but that's what makes it different. That's what makes it more powerful. Okay, Tiku b'chodesh shofar, that when a person blows the shofar in a fresh way, in a renewed way, not the way it was in the past. Okay, he's making a holiday. He's making a holiday for God. But when we do things like a chok, like a judgment, like a how do you say it? When it's a fixed thing, it's scary. What it says, Mishpat Yaakov. For God it will be a mishpat. God will come and have a complaint against the Jewish people. Okay. So that's the idea about renewal, right? Again, there's all different levels. There's the idea of Hamechades, like we say about the Torah, just the way, right, that God Hamechades B'tuvoi B'chol Yom Tamid Masei V'Reishis. 1 second. Right, that God renews the world every single day. Right. The first level is that we have to do every mitzvah. Everybody think for just stop talking shofar. Listen, everybody think for a mitzvah that they do. But I have a teacher, God bless her. Her name is Rivka Zahavi, and she once stayed at my house, and I was saying Birkat Hamazon, grace after meals, and she herself is in her late 80s, and she's not would you call Haredi by any means. She's far from being an ultra-Orthodox person. She's an amazing person, though, a very wise person. And she saw me saying Birkat Hamazon, not from a siddur. And she looked at me incredulously. Here, Rabbi Leiter, it's a mitzvah from the Torah. It's one of the 613 commandments. And you're saying it by heart? How can you possibly give all of your intention to it? And from that point on, that was 10 years ago, now whenever I say Birkat Hamazon, I read it from a siddur, from a bencher. And I try to make the words come alive. Right? And if not all of them, then some of them. Everybody think about a commandment that they're doing, how they could bring new life to it, how they could make it miraculous instead of natural, how they can tiku b'chodesh shofar, right? Blow in a new way the shofar. Okay, all right. So that's one level. There's another level, is that when a person, not just between myself and God, it's when a person does something in a new way, right? He's like God, because just like God doesn't stop giving, God, even if a person sins, God's still there with oxygen. He's still there with food. We still wake up. We're persons, thank God, person's bodies aren't filled with pains. God doesn't punish us when we don't behave properly. He keeps giving. Okay, when we then turn around and we give him with all that we have, right? We push and push and push and push. Okay, that's also the idea of renewing, of being like Hashem. And the third place, actually the most interesting thing, is the third place, and it's so interesting that we're learning it just before Purim. The third place where a person is supposed to not hold back is about happiness. That's perhaps the most important place where a person should be machadesh, right? That he has to, in every single aspect of his life. I speak about it so often because I think about it so often. Okay, right? If a person is angry or sad or feels yeyus, like we said before, right? The difference between ish, ve'ish. Ish is Mordechai, ve'ish is Haman, because what's ve'ish? Vav, Aleph, Yud, Shin. Rearrange the letters and it spells yeyush, despair. Okay, if a person has an issue, it's sad or despair, or feels that the difficulties are overcoming them, just think about how many things we have to be thankful for. So many things to have gratitude for, and then and bring out that well of happiness in yourself. And again, the three things where a person is supposed to constantly be renewing. In my service to Hashem, to do it in a new way. In the way that Hashem gives to me, I have to give back to Hashem. Right, and no matter what is holding me back, to increase in happiness, like we say, nichnas adam marbim b'simcha. Okay, I'm finished today, I think. 1 second. Not too many notes today. 1 second. Yep. All right, questions. Small group today. Anybody else? Complaints? Did I tell you the joke? Did I tell you that? Do you know that before Corona, I spent all of my time fundraising? Now we do a lot of fundraising by Zoom, Baruch Hashem. We're in the middle of a Purim campaign, actually, Baruch Hashem. And we are... so I saw a story about a fundraiser, a famous fundraiser, is a Chassid of the Rebbe Marash. So you're talking about 200 years ago. And he said, to be a fundraiser, you need 2 deep pockets. Did I ever tell you this before? Moshe, did I ever say this? To be a fundraiser, you need 2 deep pockets. One for the money, and the other for the insults. When you're raising money, people insult you, right? You got to have two deep pockets, one for the money, one for the insults. So the man said, look, when I was young, it was great. I got one deep pocket for the money, right? Because he used to help people, and another deep pocket for the insults. And that's how I kept myself sharp. When people would insult me, I would think, what are they saying that's true? And how can I improve myself? Okay. But now he says, now that I got older, nobody insults me anymore, right? They just give me the money. It's terrible. I have no criticism, no way to improve myself, no way to continue to fight my challenges. But I don't have that problem. I have a wife, and she, Baruch Hashem. I'm supposed to tell the story where they say it's a true story. It's Shabtai Slabatinsky. I have to tell it before. Shabtai Slabatinsky was once invited to speak on a panel with a Christian and a Buddhist, right? And to talk about what was unique about each of the things. Anyway, and so it happened to be that the Dalai Lama was visiting, right? And the Rabbi Slabatinsky didn't know that the Dalai Lama was actually he was in the audience listening to the whole conversation, to the whole debate, right, between these three people, right? And so Rabbi Slabatinsky was saying that, look, he says there's a problem with the Buddhism because there's idols involved there, and it's against the Jewish tradition to you can't we are Judaism. It's one of the 10 commandments of the prohibition against idol worship. So somebody from the audience who knew that the Dalai Lama was there stood up and she started screaming at him, "How dare you speak this? There's a holy man here in the audience. How are you speaking? You're saying about that they're doing things against God's will, and he's a very, very holy man." And Rabbi Slabatinsky he didn't know what to say. He says, I don't know the Dalai Lama, but if you want to really know who a person is, ask their wife. What are you laughing? So because the Buddhist, the Dalai Lama didn't get married, so he doesn't not lucky like me that he has somebody to pull himself together. Anyway, 1 second. So that's enough. It's Purim. Enough jokes. No, what happened at the birthday party of the tree? The tree made a birthday party. What happened? He says, what happened? I can tell you, it was pretty sappy. Anybody have any questions? Renata, welcome. Hi. We're just finishing up. Questions, anybody?
I just wanted to say I really like that sappy joke.
Happy Purim, everybody. Okay, I hope I wasn't too. Thank you very much, Ken. I really, please, everybody take time. If anybody's in Israel wants to come to us for Purim, you're in. Just give a call. And nice things happening in Ascent, nice things happening in Sfas. Okay, may everybody have a wonderful, wonderful Purim. Let's just, Wednesday is a fast day. Starts at an hour before dawn, okay, which dawn is about, if I'm not mistaken, I think you can eat, you have to check. If anybody needs to know, they can ask me, but you can eat till about 4 a.m., if I'm not mistaken. Happy Purim, right? And then we hear the Megillah Wednesday evening, and you're supposed to have a nice meal also Wednesday evening. And Thursday morning is time to give charity. Metonis Levyanim is called, gifts for the poor, for the needy, and Mashloach Manos, which is 2 types of food, at least to one person, but you can give as many as you want. 2 types of food to at least one person to fulfill the commandment. And then late in the afternoon, it's to have a meal with good friends and to Torah and say a few l'chaim. That's the commandment. Okay, I'm going. Anybody else want to ask anything? Like, what a tough crowd you guys are. Do I have any other jokes? Did you hear the one about the father calls up his son? He says, George, I have bad news for you. She says, what's the matter, Dad? What's the matter? Your mother and I are getting divorced. Getting divorced? What? Are you crazy? You can't get divorced. Don't do anything till I call my sister. He calls up his sister, okay, and she right away calls her parents. She says, Mom and Dad, don't you move. George and I are getting on the next plane. We'll be there this evening, okay? And she hangs up the phone, okay? Okay, so the father looks at his wife and he says, no, Gloria, you were right. They're coming down for the Seder, but I don't know what we're going to do for Rosh Hashanah.
That's very good. Very good.
Okay, now we're gonna start losing it. All right, turn off the recording already. This is, look at that, for posterity. I'm telling jokes. Say,
Oh.
all right, but it's a mitzvah to be happy. Okay. Anyway, Dara and Ronnie, very much for coming, and Reba, always. What will we do without my faithful assistant? God bless her, and Chaya Liora, and Reba, Moshe, Liba, and Moshe. God bless each of you. And please, if you, I beg
I
you,
mean, and you.
Amen. I beg everybody, think if there was anything redeeming in this class, in this workshop, in this sharing of ideas with it, something redeeming, take it, make it yours, and share it with other people. You are the secret service, right? Okay, and who can go to places where I can't possibly go. Baruch Hashem, and Hashem should make you successful in all of your endeavors, okay, and should do it happily and healthily, right, and without any negative side whatsoever, ever, only positive. Okay, what? Who's going to say?